I mean, we're all Spurs fans in here, so we know what it means to get up to it. Like, I'm already thinking about it now, and we're only on, halfway through the week. So I just feel we saw, like, as long as he doesn't do what Thomas Frank did. Like, Thomas Frank went into that North London derby in the reverse fixture and went, I'm going to settle for a draw here. So and Tudor's actually said that already in his interview. So he's already had a little dig there saying, like, I'm not going to be like that. We set up for a draw. He said, who's Eze? And he scored a hat-trick and we got put to the sword 4-1. So as long as we don't do that, we should be all right. But I still think, if we come out of that game just showing enough fight, grit and determination, that's enough for me, because I just think at the moment, say Tudor goes and loses all the games to the end of the season, I don't think he will be to blame. Right now, we've blamed the owners and the board, and Levy went. We've blamed the manager now, and he's gone, and Ange went as well. Now it is on the players, because I feel like I've flip-flopped. I've said that, the players are to blame. Then I've said, no, I think I've seen like second halves against Villa and Sunderland where I'm like, no, there's enough quality there, but they've still got to grab the game by the horns and show that they're good enough. Because at the end of the day, if they all get relegated, they'll want out of here. But if they don't put in performances, the players who will be plucked off by bigger teams, but there's going to be a lot of players there who think, I'm bigger than this.
Let's say we went down. I'd be saying, you lot are not going anywhere. You're not going anywhere until you bring us back up. You are not going to be leaving this football club. I mean, whether you like it or not, but again, they wouldn't like me if I was the chairman and the owner, because I'd be very, very
I'd like to see that too.
I think we've got an angry fan base at the moment.
I'm sorry, but rightly so.
Absolutely, and that isn't the fans' fault. That is not the fans' fault. But what I think you've both touched on brilliant points there about the reaction now. And it is not the fans' fault, right? I'll say that till I'm blue in the face. But now, this fan base, us, and I'll be there as well, are have a responsibility as well. And because of exactly what you mentioned, if we do go a goal down early, which happens, right? Gabriel could bundle one in the back of the net from a set piece, as we've seen them do a lot, right? But I remember the game where we cost them the top four, the Harry Kane penalty game, and, when Son got Chambers Holding got sent off. And, that day was the epitome of everything that was great about going to the Tottenham Stadium. Yeah. It was a case of, like, we want to win, and if we do them damage in the process, that's a bonus, right? As you say, forget them. Yeah. We want to support our group of players through thick and thin. And if we do get a result, the bonus is that's damaged them. Yeah. And please, for Spurs fans, go to the Tottenham Stadium with that attitude at the weekend, because we cannot turn on the players after 10 minutes or half time in this scenario. As you say, it's one thing it's a positive and one thing it's a negative that North London derby comes so soon, because if we do get a result, I think we stay up comfortably. I think the knock-on effect means we stay up. It will just surge through everyone. But the fans have a real responsibility. It's do not turn on those players. I can't reveal who it is, but we've done a big interview with an Arsenal player this week at our place, and they were already talking about the atmosphere at the Tottenham Stadium. And and there's a quote from Saka about, we can't lose here, and that's because they went into it with they went 3-0 up there, and we pulled it back to 3-2 in that game. And the atmosphere was like, oh my god, we're going to do it. We all remember the Danny Rose game. We all remember those
moments.
The
Harry Kane one when he whips the mask off.
Exactly.
I think this is another thing when we talk about this stadium, and we haven't had loads of moments yet at this stadium over the last six years or so. Like this is where it needs to start. Like, we all know our grievances with the board, we know our grievances with the managers, we know our grievances with the players, but for the next 12 games, and I bet again someone will call me a hypocrite because I'm the first one to call out the board and the players, etc., but for the next 12 games, this needs to be a unit. Everyone needs to come together. I don't want to see Romero commenting on the ownership at this point. Save it till the summer, or at least till we're safe. Us lot, I fully back change for Spurs, but at this point, we've got a job to do as the 12th man, as Tottenham fans.
I think the message should be, we protest when we're safe now.
I think that's fair.
and if and when, but when we're safe, 3-0 up in the penultimate game of the season when we're 5 points clear of relegation, yes, turn your backs, yes, get the banners out.
You've got the same energy, win, lose or draw.
Exactly right.
We all want change here. But...
And look, Arsenal will be... more nervous about coming to the Tottenham Stadium now that Thomas Frank isn't the manager, because there's an unknown for them now. Yeah. There's they knew what they were going to get with Thomas Frank.
They've lost a cheerleader, haven't they?
Yes.
They've lost the guy,
the silver member, as they've been calling him.
I think
that chart will be ringing around.
I don't even think he's silver anymore. I think he's probably platinum.
As long as he's not in the away end this weekend.
Him walking around with a cup at Bournemouth.
But when he praised them, didn't he? He was like, and the players were like, "Shut up! What are you talking about?"
I couldn't believe. I think we spoke about it last week. I couldn't believe that what was written by, I think it was Matt Law, that said he
talked about them a lot.
I mean, we compare ourselves with them all the time, but we can do that. The manager of the club, that's a disgrace.
But it's okay to want to be where they are, because they're top of the league. Sure. But do it in your way, not by talking about how they've done it.
I agree. Let's talk kind of tactics then, which is kind of where you thrive. Are we going to see him be tactically adaptable, or is this a kind of standalone fixture?
I think this is very much a standalone. I think that's a fair point. I think we will see his shape, and look, everyone accused Ange of being stubborn around his shape, but we saw when it worked that it really worked, and I think that if he could have coached the defence a bit better and some of the mistakes weren't made, then he'd probably still be the manager. I think this game is slightly different. I think that, just to look at them for a second, there's Saka could play as a number 10 in this game, because they've got injuries themselves, and they could play Saka centrally and Madueke one side and Martinelli the other. I think that I hope Gyökeres starts, because I think that the likes of Van der Ven and Dragazin would prefer him to that, and they could almost go man v man against him rather than somebody who goes wandering into midfield and drags them into places they don't want to be. But I think that the instruction this week from a tactical point of view for Spurs will be back to basics, a bit like what Michael Carrick did at Manchester United, which we discussed in the previous show before Frank, the previous show that I was on, that before Frank went, was there was a back to basics thing here. Forget the formation for a second. This is what we're going to do in this scenario. We don't want Vicario 1 minute passing it back and forth amongst the centre-backs and then realising I can't play and going long after that. The instruction is that it goes to the full-backs early and they play up the line, or you're just going to go direct yourself, Vicario. One or the other.
They should really know how to do this, because it's pretty similar to what we did under Ange.
It is,
so it should be muscle memory in that sense. I know we didn't see it a lot last year, but...
Yeah, and also that the 4 games that all of a sudden I was wondering, is Thomas Frank going to last longer? We played Burnley away in a 3-4-3 or this formation and played all right for the first half and should have been out of sight, actually, if it wasn't for a goalkeeping performance. We played very well against Dortmund. We then beat Frankfurt away. And then the fourth one was, I can't remember what the fourth game was, but there was 4.
3 at the back.
No, the City game was when it then didn't go great. But it was 4 games unbeaten, and then it was like, hang on, that's the formation, and then all of a sudden it went back the other way. Oh no, it was City, but we started that way and changed. You're right. Sorry, So that was the order of the results. But then it was like, then we just go back to 4 again and try and change it around. I do think that the players, Van der Ven especially, obviously the fullbacks, Xavi Simons especially, Gallagher especially, they suit this kind of shape. So back to basics, do what you're good at, and then hope that the crowd and the environment of the derby carries you over the line.
Okay. Right, now it's time for our bet builder with BetMGM. Remember, you can download the app or head to betmgm.co.uk. Okay, right. I've gone for a Spurs win. It's not something I say often.
No, not this season.
No, not last season, in all honesty. I've gone with the Spurs win, and there's a bit of hopium in there, obviously. I think that, for me, we've got to start winning home games. When we look at our record over the last 2 seasons, it is abysmal. We've got 4 wins, literally, from last season and this season in the league. It's disgusting. And for me, the home games are very important, starting with Arsenal. Some people have said this is a free hit. I'm not taking this as a free hit. I'm sorry. You don't get to have free hits when you're in a relegation battle. Absolutely not. You've got Arsenal, Palace, Forest, Brighton, Leeds and Everton, all teams that are around us. A total of 18 points can be taken from those. For me, Spurs win. You're at home. I don't care if they're the best team in the country. I don't care if they're the most consistent in Europe. Doesn't bother me. Anything and everything goes out the window in a derby. Always does. Most of the time. So I'm going with Spurs win. Dean?
Yeah, I'm going to go both teams to score. I love your optimism there, Abby.
It's so rare.
I feel inspired.
Yeah, you're making me believe.
It feels like an out-of-body experience.
Yeah, you should have been
boys.
doing Thomas Frank's team talks for him. But yeah, look, I've gone both teams to score because I don't think a win is out of the question because of all those factors you mentioned there. I just they're not. Look, they're very functional, right? I'm not. You know, they're not boring per se, but because you can be a very good team just by being functional, you just do all those good things correctly. But they are predictable,
yes,
right?
Yeah.
Whether you can stop that or not is another matter. But they are predictable. But I just fancy them to score at some stage. Their set pieces are incredible. You know, Rice's delivery, Saka's delivery, just out of this world. And you know, we've seen the memes of the people charging at the penalty area and whatever else, and that's what they do. And they get more decisions than anyone at the moment, and I don't mind saying that.
Yeah, it's true.
But yeah, I do fancy us to have a spell in the game where the crowd will be up. You know, Javi will be getting on the ball, Solanke will be flying around everywhere, Gallagher will whip everybody up, and if that spell can be a lengthened spell and we can get in the game, you know, and both teams to score. Look, I love your optimism, but if you've offered me 2-2 now, I think I'll take it.
Oh no, I'll take it.
Yeah.
Look, my thing is you don't lose. Like, do I think we can win? Maybe. There's a parallel universe where that happens. But my thing is you don't lose that game. Whether of course I take a draw on a derby now. I mean, I take a point. It's not like we can.
Yeah.
The other thing is they've got
The
other thing is they've got a midweek game. And we've got a bit more time to prep. And one of the other principles we've not spoken about of Igor Tudor here is he gets you to run. And that was the other thing I said about Schneider, that he wasn't willing to do that. And if you don't run under him, you are done.
Yeah.
And so this week, that will have been drummed into them. And I don't think the fans at the weekend are going to be disappointed in the effort. And that, again, will be something that everyone can get behind.
Sure.
So yeah, I fancy us to score.
Sonny, you've gone for over 3.5 corners.
Yes. I mean, I don't need to talk about Arsenal's corners, and I'm hoping, you know, I don't want to see Gabriel like getting too high and above his stature as he always does, but he does like a goal in this game. But you know, we've been great with corners this year. I mean, that is probably one of the best things. Thomas Frank, I mean, that's what I liked about the announcement this week about his coaching staff. The set piece coach is still there because he's the only one who can hang his head up
spot on
above the parapet and go, yeah, I did my job at least. So, I mean, the only thing I will say is some of our defending from corners has been a bit suspect. You've got to remember the Manchester United game as well. But, yeah, I can imagine like this is a game won by height. This is going to be, you know, the
physical.
Big Mickey van der Ven's, Palhinha's, Gabriel, Saliba if he's back fit as well. I can just see, corners galore.
Yeah, and I think we can be more direct, as I mentioned before. I think there will be scenarios where, you know, Dragozin, probably in that right centre-back position, will hit a big diagonal up to Dom Solanke. And look, Saliba, if he's fit as well, is quite suspect under the high ball, on a high diagonal ball. Absolute Rolls Royce on the floor, but under the high
against
ball.
Bournemouth a couple of years ago.
Bouncing balls.
Yeah.
Richarlison did it to him in the London Derby, North London Derby a couple of years ago, where he gets around him and under the high ball. They'll target Saliba a little bit, and that's again plays into your corners. Over Saliba's head, avoid Gabriel at all costs. Over Saliba's head and attack that side.
Okay. Well, let's wait and see. So just to confirm, that is Albert Builder. It's Spurs win, both teams to score, and over 3.5 corners in the first half. I think that sounds very Arsenal, doesn't it?